Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am CA Natasha, and today we will be discussing the Finance Bill 2022, which is the Budget 2022. So, let's begin. The Union Budget 2022. बहुत कुछ आपने सुन लिया होगा, बहुत कुछ इस बजट के बारे में आपने जान लिया होगा और उससे भी ज्यादा बहुत कुछ इस बजट के बारे में आपने समझ भी लिया होगा। What I am going to do today is कि जो भी टॉपिक्स बहुत ज्यादा ऑलरेडी डिस्कस हो रही हैं उसके बारे में मैं बात नहीं करूंगी, जैसे कि डिजिटल करेंसी, क्रिप्टो करेंसी के बारे में इस बजट में मैं कुछ डिस्कस नहीं करूंगी। तो मैं क्या डिस्कस करने वाली हूँ आपके साथ अब इस 10 से 15 मिनट में। So in the next 10 to 15 minutes, what will I be discussing? I have done the budget in brief and divided it into three sections. For the common man, what does the Union Budget 2022 have for the common man? What does it have for the corporates and some common provisions? I am not saying that I have covered the whole budget. There are just some important points that I thought I should discuss in my video and मैंने सिर्फ उन्हीं टॉपिक्स के बारे में बात की है। कॉमन मैन के लिए इस बजट में क्या था? There is no change in the tax rates. जो भी टैक्स रेट्स जो इनकम स्लैब्स पे पिछले साल एप्लीकेबल थी वही इस साल भी एप्लीकेबल रहेगी, मीनिंग there is no change in the tax rates. Exemption of COVID related amount received, इसके बारे में हम बात करेंगे। TDS on sale of immovable property, ये भी हम देखेंगे। For corporates, what is to be done with the cess and surcharge that is paid with the income tax? What is the treatment to be given? Clarification on 14A disallowance. एक्सपेंस अंडर सेक्शन 37 को थोड़ा डिस्कस करेंगे। कॉमन प्रोविजंस में अपडेटेड रिटर्न के बारे में बात करेंगे एंड लिटिगेशन मैनेजमेंट के बारे में बात करेंगे। कॉमन प्रोविजंस मीनिंग जो हम सबको एप्लीकेबल होंगे, वी डोंट हैव टू बाइफरकेट इट बिटवीन कॉमन मैन एंड कॉर्पोरेट। अब इसी सीक्वेंस में हम आगे अपना बजट डिस्कस करेंगे। द फर्स्ट वन बीइंग फॉर द कॉमन मैन, exemption of amount received regarding COVID-19. So current provisions के हिसाब से income tax is not chargeable on any amount received from the employer or any other person for medical treatment of COVID-19 during the financial year 2019-20 and subsequent years. Meaning, अगर COVID 19 रिलेटेड मेडिकल ट्रीटमेंट के लिए आपको या तो अपने एम्प्लॉयर से या तो किसी भी और से कोई भी पैसा अगर मिला है तो नो इनकम टैक्स इज चार्जेबल ऑन सच अमाउंट। फर्दर, इन केस there is a death because of COVID-19, then any amount received from the employer is fully exempt in the hands of the family members. And if amount is received by any other person other than the employer, तो upper limit दी गई है ₹10 लाख की। इन प्रोविजंस को अब बजट में बोला गया है that income tax is not chargeable for the medical treatment of the expenses incurred for the medical treatment. पहले बोला था any amount received, and now it is proposed that the amount of expense actually incurred for the medical treatment, उस पे कोई income tax नहीं लगेगा. And in case of death, if the amount is received by the employer or any other person, the exemption will be if such money is received within 12 months from the date of death of such person. Means 12 महीने के अंदर अगर आपको पैसे मिल गए from the employer, तो the whole amount will be exempt in the hands of the family members. And अगर कोई और पैसे दे रहा है other than the employer, तो there is an upper limit of ₹10 lakh provided the money is received within 12 months of the date of the death of the person. Then the next is TDS on immovable property. Now, TDS on immovable property was always there. ये provision है, काफी सालों से है. ये इसमें क्या होता है that whenever you sell any immovable property, for example, आप अपना घर बेचते हो जब, so when you sell the house, the buyer of the house is supposed to deduct your tax. जो बायर होता है घर का, वो आपको टीडीएस काट के पैसा देता है. ये प्रोविजन पहले से था. इस प्रोविजन में ये अमेंडमेंट आया है दैट 1% of such sum paid on the stamp duty value of the property whichever is higher. So TDS of 1% लगेगा या तो on the sum paid or on the stamp duty value of the property whichever is higher. Suppose the stamp duty value of the house as well as the buying price या the sale price जो भी है, suppose that value, both these values is less than rupees 50 lakh, so no tax will be applicable, no TDS will be deductible. So suppose हमने इस घर को बेचा है at 40 lakh, लेकिन इस घर की stamp duty value is 55 lakh, so 55 lakh will be taken as the value for deducting TDS, right? Even if the sale value is less than 50 lakh, but the stamp duty value is 55 lakh, which is more than 50 lakh, so in such a case, TDS of 1% will be applicable. Then, for corporates, treatment of cess and surcharge effective retrospectively from 1st April 2005. Under section 48(2), tax is not allowable expense. So अगर आपके कोई भी expense हुए हैं as tax, that is not an allowable expense for tax purposes, right? We have to add back that expense while preparing the computation. Now, it has been now clarified that this term tax does not only include the basic tax but also the cess and surcharge. That's all that this clarification has come up because it has been a very litigative topic. So finally in this budget, it has been clarified that tax includes cess and surcharge. Tax along with cess and surcharge is not an allowable expenditure and will be added back when computing profits and gains from business and profession. Disallowance under section 14A is the expenditure to be disallowed, such expenditure which has been incurred to earn exempt income. तो अगर आपके पास ऐसा कोई भी expense है which you have incurred to earn exempt income, so that corresponding expense needs to be disallowed. Now, this is also a provision which was always there, and a clarificatory amendment has now come up to say that expenditure for earning exempt income will be disallowed even if there is no exempt income earned in a particular year. So, if in a particular year आपके पास exempt income नहीं हुई है, you haven't earned any exempt income, but you have incurred expenditure to earn exempt income. Even if you haven't earned any exempt income, आपने कुछ expense incur जरूर किया है उस exempt income को earn करने के लिए, जो शायद आपको future year में आएगी. That expenditure will be disallowed in this year in which you have incurred the expense, right? Even if the exempt income is not earned in this year and will be earned in the subsequent year, if the expense is incurred in this particular year, you need to disallow it. You need to add it back to your profits. Then, expense for purpose that is an offense or prohibited by law. Section 37 deals with expenditure that has been incurred for business purposes. It is not for personal purpose. It is not in capital nature. It is any revenue expenditure that you have incurred for your business is covered under section 37. In this particular section 37, it is further said that Any expense that has been incurred for a purpose that is an offense or prohibited by law will not be allowed. Further to this, this budget has said that such expense shall include and deemed to have always included expense incurred in India or outside India. So, if there is any expenditure that you have incurred for a purpose that is an offense or prohibited by law in India or outside India, will not be allowable under Section 37. Provide any benefit where acceptance of such benefit is in violation of any law. मीनिंग आपने किसी को ऐसे कुछ बेनिफिट दिया है जो एक्चुअली जिसने एक्सेप्ट किया है फॉर हिम इट इज नॉट एक्सेप्टेबल एज पर लॉ. अगर इसका सिंपल एग्जांपल दे दूं तो इट कैन बी लाइक ब्राइबिंग समबडी. So you have incurred that expenditure, but accepting a bribe is violation of a law, right? So such kind of expenditure will also not be allowable. Now, there is a lot of discussion about this in the memorandum regarding medical practitioners, that for them accepting anything from their clients, from their patients is in violation of the law. So if I have given anything to such a person, to such a medical practitioner, okay, where his acceptance is actually a violation as per the medical association, in such a case such expenditure is not allowable. Okay. To compound an offense under any law in India or outside India. So basically, this is like a clarificatory proposal, and it's saying that whether such expenditure is incurred in India or outside India, which is an offense or prohibited by law, is not an allowable expenditure. The next is updated return, which is common for all the categories, common man as well as corporate, and this is with effect from 1st April 2022. What is the current provisions? Let's see that first. So as per the current provisions, you need to file your return on or before the due dates. What if you have missed the due date? If you have not filed your return of income on or before the due date, you can file a belated return. If you have filed your return of income on time, however, you have realized that you need to make some changes to your return, you can file a revised return. And what is the timeline to do this? You need to file the revised return or the belated return with 3 months before the end of the relevant assessment year or completion of assessment, whichever is earlier. We will look at this with an example. Yeah. So अगर आपने ड्यू डेट के हिसाब से अपनी रिटर्न फाइल नहीं की है तो आप एक बिलेटेड रिटर्न फाइल कर सकते हो. अगर आपने ड्यू डेट तक अपनी रिटर्न ऑफ इनकम फाइल कर दी तो आपको एक रिवाइज रिटर्न फाइल करना है. इफ यू रियलाइज कि आपने कुछ चेंजेस करने हैं या आपने कुछ गलती की है तो आपको रिविजन करना है, तो यू कैन डू दैट 3 months before the end of the relevant assessment year. Now, what has been proposed is updated return. What is an updated return? An updated return is basically for you to disclose any additional income that you have not disclosed it earlier. So या तो आपने रिटर्न फाइल ही नहीं की या तो आपने फाइल की है लेकिन आपने इनकम डिस्क्लोज नहीं की है. In such a case, you can file an updated return to disclose an additional income that you have not previously disclosed. Okay. And what is the timeline? If you do it within 12 months from the end of the relevant assessment year, you will have to pay an additional tax of 25% on the additional income that you are disclosing. So you then don't have to see what tax rate is applicable to you on this additional income that you disclosed in the updated return. There will be an additional tax of 25% plus surcharge and cess. If you do not file it within 12 months and you still take some more time to decide that you need to do this or no, in such a case, suppose you do it within 24 months from the end of the relevant assessment year, an additional tax of 50% will be applicable on such additional income. So the more time you take to decide to file your updated return, the more additional tax will be applicable. Now, which also means an updated return can be filed within 24 months from the end of the relevant assessment year. Okay, that is the time limit given for filing an updated return within 24 months from the end of the relevant assessment year. Let's see this with an example. For the year ended 31st March 2022, that is assessment year 22-23, a revised return and belated return will be filed 3 months before the completion of assessment year. So the end of the assessment year would be 31st March 2023. 3 months before that would be 31st December 2022. So revised return and belated return has to be filed by 31st of December 2022. Updated return with payment of additional tax of 25% will be filed within 12 months from the end of the relevant assessment year. So AY 22-23 end 12 months ending would be 31st March 2024. An updated return with payment of additional tax of 50% would be filed by 31st of March 2025. That is 24 months from the assessment year ending 22-23. So if I talk about assessment year 22-23, so year ending 31st March 22, I will file a revised return and belated return by 31st of December 2022. By 31st of March 2024, I can file an updated return with payment of additional tax of 25%. And by 31st of March 2025, I can file an updated return with payment of additional tax of 50%. Litigation management. Where an appeal has been filed by the revenue for an earlier year and the same is pending before the jurisdictional high court or the Supreme Court, or in an SLP, that is special leave petition against the order of the tribunal or jurisdictional high court on an identical question of law, in the case of the assessee or any other assessee, the department will not file an appeal on the same issue. So basically, if the tax department has already filed an appeal on an identical question, which is now again seen, okay, and this appeal filed by the revenue may be in for the assessee or for any other assessee, and if he finds that same identical question of law again in the current year, in such a case, he will not file an appeal on that same issue until it is already been cleared for the earlier year. That's all this litigation management is about. So basically, in such a way, अगर एक ही क्वेश्चन पे बार बार अपील जाएगी आगे, जब earlier year में already pending है, so it's just going to increase the paperwork and the cases in front of the court. So to avoid that, this is the way that they have come up with, that if it is already pending for an earlier year, we can wait until that question is resolved in the court. So that's all from me. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Thank you and have a very nice day.